Does this look like 800 people? According to the Parliamentary Protective Services, they estimated that only 800 people were in attendance at the Integrity March hosted by the Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights last Saturday, September 12, 2020. Despite all the video footage and CBC's interview on location with the Vice President of Public Relations, Tracy Wilson.
They're still coming.
I think it's worth mentioning also at this point right here, the bagpipes are so far away you don't even hear them, and people are still marching. CTV, whose vehicle you see here stuck in traffic, claims that Tracy Wilson was unavailable for comment. They were at the event. They didn't even bother to park somewhere and walk over, and they were calling it a ban on assault rifles, which is also misleading. The proper term is assault-style weapons. Assault-style weapons. And here's the money shot. The organization which did not respond to a request for comment. I mean, how gullible do they think we are here? It's not like they didn't see it. In the article that CTV wrote, they have no quotes from anybody who actually attended the Integrity March. And number two, their article is basically word for word identical to the article that CBC wrote, and I'll get to that in a minute.
CBC is open? Of course they are. Even if they lost about 20% ad revenue in the last quarter, they're still coming on strong. Why? Everybody here funds the CBC.
They're pretty much the state broadcaster. As for the CBC, it seems like the march got their attention. They sent a team of reporters when they heard the CCFR march by the CBC Ottawa headquarters on Sparks Street. And they even interviewed Tracy, but they never aired it. They also claim that only 800 people showed up. I forgot to take a screenshot of CBC's article when it first came out. From my recollection, CBC also called it a ban on assault weapons, but now it's written as assault-style weapons. If that's the case, they made a correction without marking it as a retraction. The guns being banned are not assault rifles. Assault rifles have been banned for as long back as I can remember. These rifles are simply .22 caliber semi-automatic rifles that look like AR-15s. So if the CBC is making corrections to their past articles without ethically marking it as a retraction, like any ethically sound news outlet would do, it makes them no better than the fictional Ministry of Truth in George Orwell's 1984. In the fictional story, when the government wanted to decrease the chocolate rations without letting the public know about it, it was Winston's job, a low-ranking revisionist for the Ministry of Truth, to make the necessary corrections in all the reference books and past newspaper articles, making it seem as though it's always been like that. The mainstream media is constantly pulling the wool over our eyes, and this time they've been caught. But they have no shame about getting caught in unethical activity. Just look at the guy who constantly bails them out every year. Our very own Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. How many ethics violations has he racked up so far during his tenure as Prime Minister? Now let's take a quick look at how identical both articles are. Apart from a few Tracy Wilson quotes and CBC's quote-unquote corrections, they are pretty much the same. Like the paragraph about the Polytechnic anti-gun group is word for word verbatim in both articles, but that's just one example. So in conclusion, the CTV is lazy and the CBC is incompetent. But it's pretty obvious they both wrote it from the same press release, and that's the scary part. The liberal narrative that they both present. God only knows who's writing these press releases, but I wouldn't be surprised if it came from the Liberal office itself. But we can all take a note from Tracy Wilson's book and fight for something that we believe in.
As long as the mainstream media fails to do its job and be fair and balanced, I'm always going to have a job. So, you know,
by the time we reach Bank Street, we're heading back up to Parliament Hill.